Hi, I'm Jack. Welcome back to my channel and a new video. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to start a series of episodes where I go through my entire DVD collection. As you can probably see behind me, above and to the side, I've got a handful of movies here, but what you can't see is an absolutely enormous collection around me. I think I have somewhere in the realm of about 500 to 600 DVDs. And I've been meaning to have a big sort out of them, so I thought it'd be quite fun to actually go through them all on camera as well whilst I'm doing that. It's something I find really fun actually. When I'm on YouTube, I love to watch people's vlogging, you know, their DVD collection, their Blu-rays, their horror collections, all that stuff. I find very addictive to watch. So hopefully you're going to have some fun going through mine with me as well. These aren't going to be coming to you either in any particular order. I think at some point, maybe a few years ago, I would have had this in alphabetical order, but the rest of it's going to be all chaos. So anyway, let's get into it. So first up here, I've got the Alien Quadrilogy box set, the first 4 films. First 2 absolute classics. Aliens is in the conversation of one of my favourites of all time. Love that movie to death. I actually saw 3 and Resurrection for the first time in lockdown, and I watched the longer assembly cut of Alien 3, and I actually think it is quite interesting, especially the first half. There is quite a few elements to it that do keep me interested and engage me, but it just really goes off the rails in the third act. And then you've got Alien Resurrection, which is just a bizarre film. It's so strange. Tonally, it does not feel anything like the first 3. It really doesn't fit in at all. It is somewhat entertaining, but you can probably skip that one. But yeah, the first 2 incredible movies. Okay, we've got here 30 Days of Night. This is a vampire film from probably like 15 years ago now. It's one starring Josh Hartnett. It's not bad. It's I really like the vampire designs in this one. And I do quite like that setting in the snow, this kind of deserted area. It's got some creepy moments that I quite like, but I find it gets very muddled in the middle. You start to lose track of time a little bit. Feels like it must have had some editing problems or something, but it doesn't really flow well for me, to be honest. It's not a bad film. There's some good things about it, but it's definitely flawed. A Quiet Place. This is probably one of my favourite horror movies of the last 10 years. John Krasinski did an amazing job with this. Again, creating that family dynamic, because obviously him and Emily Blunt being married in real life, you just get that real chemistry there. And when you're just spending time with this family in this isolated situation in this apocalypse, oh, what an incredible film. Every time I watch this, I love this more and more. It's very tense, a lot of emotional moments. This is a highly recommended one. So now here we've just got all of the Scream movies, apart from 6. I haven't actually picked up 6 yet, but we've got 4, probably one of the weaker ones. But again, I actually quite like all of the Scream movies. 5, good entry in the series. I actually really liked this one. And the original trilogy box set. Scream, I've actually done a video on my channel ranking all of the Scream movies, and I've done an in-depth review of the first one. It's one of my favourite horrors of all time, definitely my favourite slasher film. So this is one of my go-to movie box sets. Next up, we've got The Dreamers. This won't be for everyone. It's quite an acquired taste. It's basically it's set in France, and it's these 3 students that kind of get into this sort of 3-way relationship and discuss art and politics and other pretentious stuff like that. And I haven't seen it in some time. It works for me, but I think if you read the synopsis for this, you'll kind of know if this is going to be the movie for you. I think it is good, but yeah, it's not going to be for everyone. Next up here, we've got Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Did a full ranking video for all the Mission Impossible films recently. Loved Rogue Nation. They introduced Rebecca Ferguson here. I think she's the best addition to the cast they brought in. Absolutely love that character. Really adrenaline-filled action movie and set up for Fallout, which I personally think is the best in the series. So very, very good. So next up here, we have the first 8-box collection of the Fast and Furious series. They are what they are, aren't they? They're good fun movies. I get a bit of guilty pleasure watching these. I do genuinely think that 5 and 6 are actually pretty good action films. They actually were doing a little bit more ambitious. I really quite like those, and I get quite a bit of fun with the rest of them. You know, if these are on TV, I'll happily sit through them. I would say Too Fast, Too Furious is probably the worst. That's the only one where I kind of leave going, what the hell was all that about? But yeah, they're fun. It's Fast and Furious, you know. So next up here we have Contagion. And this is a film that I saw years ago when it first came out, and it bored me to tears. I wasn't interested in it whatsoever. And since the COVID pandemic, I remember when in Netflix, this was being promoted in the first week, of course, Netflix. And watching it again, seeing how it kind of portrays government and media response, how people react in these situations to a pandemic, I actually thought it was a really interesting and accurate portrayal of that. It's kind of like a dramatized version. It's basically like COVID, but if the death rate was like 50% if somebody caught it. And watching it again after going through all of that, I actually found it very interesting. This is a Steven Soderbergh film. I don't think I've seen much of his other stuff, but after having gone through that situation, I actually found this very interesting. Okay, Man of Steel, a very divisive one this. This is a Zack Snyder superhero film. I didn't actually grow up watching or reading about Superman. It's not particularly a superhero or character that I have loads of interest in. I did think the movie is well done. I actually like the kind of build-up of his character and the relationship with Zod and how that conflict builds. The actor? Michael Shannon. Really like him as well, playing the villain. It loses me a little bit at the end. I just feel like it gets into that little sort of bit of a generic superhero type movie towards the end. It kind of lost me a bit. I thought it was doing some interesting stuff at the beginning, but you know, it is good. It is recommended. I'm sure there's a lot of people that really love this one. I just think it's decent. Us, Jordan Peele film. This, I haven't actually revisited this one since it was at the cinemas. I wasn't sure about it. I love Jordan Peele. His first movie, Get Out, we'll probably get to that at some point. I know it's in my collection here somewhere. I absolutely love Get Out. I thought I was really on the hype for that one. I'm one of the people that people say overrate that film. I'm one of those people. I loved it. I was so excited and probably set the bar too high with my expectations for Us. I think the first half is really good and really interesting, but that third act for me gets really messy, maybe gets a little bit too ambitious with what it's trying to do, so it just didn't really work for me. But I really should give this one another chance because I know a lot of people do like it. Okay, next here we have Prometheus. This is the Alien sequel, again by Ridley Scott. Another quite divisive one, I think. I know a lot of people don't like this. I actually really enjoy Prometheus. I think it's quite an interesting telling of the events that led up to Alien. I do think sometimes it wouldn't have been my go-to choice for a story, just because I think Alien leaves so many things kind of a mystery, and I actually think it's better left that way. When you have certain questions that are never answered, makes it a little bit scarier, leaves it for kind of discussion with people as well. I enjoy that, and this one kind of answers all of those things. But I do like all of the sort of philosophical things it raises in the movie. There's some engaging stuff. Michael Fassbender, I can't remember what his character's called off the top of my head, but he was really interesting as well. There's definitely some strange stuff in it. It's quite a weird film, to be honest, but I actually really quite enjoy this one. There's a lot of good stuff to recommend here. So go in and make your own judgment about this one. This one's Sinister. I'm a bit mixed on this one. It's one of those supernatural possession type movies, but it's Ethan Hawke. It's basically this character that gets writer's block and goes to a house. I think it's where people have died or something's happened there, and he finds all these tapes that are basically like the recordings from a serial killer. And the way those tapes are filmed and shown are absolutely terrifying. Ask anybody who's seen Sinister what the scariest thing in this movie is, and they will all tell you the same thing. They were really impressive. I thought that was really interesting, and I liked the direction this was going in. But as soon as that's over, it just goes back into generic possession, horror-y, supernatural type stuff, and it's a bit of a mixed one. I'd probably say skip this one, but probably maybe find some way to watch some of the scenes in this because they are quite good. Suspiria. I believe this is a remake of, I think it's an Italian horror film. I know it's a classic from a long time ago, but this is just a remake. I actually bought it for a recommendation, and I also love Mia Goth as well. It's about these bunch of girls that are at a dance school, and crazy stuff starts to happen, basically, is the best way I can describe this. Goes insane in the final act. Very interesting movie. Not one I loved, but it was definitely interesting. I'm glad I watched it, and I'm sure there's a lot of fans for this one, because it was definitely an interesting experience. Parasite. This is an incredible film. This was the best picture winner, I believe, of, I want to say 2019. Not 2020. Yeah, 2019. And I think this is an incredible movie. It's so deep with its themes, and there's so much to unpack and discuss inside this movie. It's like every genre as well. It's kind of funny in parts. It's really shocking in other moments. It's quite touching in moments. Very, very interesting film. I know some people get put off by foreign films where you've got subtitles and they can be hard to follow, but if you haven't given something like these a chance before, please give Parasite a watch. It's absolutely an incredible film. This is one that I'd really like to do a review for at some point. This is a good one. Ari Aster's Hereditary. Again, like Quiet Place, would be in the discussion for my top 10 horror films of the last decade. I absolutely loved this. I also think this, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that's actually a film that's actually scarier than Hereditary. I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but I think Hereditary is genuinely in the discussion for the scariest movie ever made. It's absolutely terrifying. Some really surprising moments in that. Amazing performance by Toni Collette. Highly recommended film. I'm so looking forward to everything that Ari Aster does now, just because of how good this was. So next here we've got Ari Aster's second film, Midsommar, and I also loved this one. It's not one I've revisited since the cinema though, because it's a very brutal and disturbing movie, and I can just never quite find the right mood to watch this one. It came on Netflix in the UK at some point, and I watched that first scene again. If you've seen it, you'll know the one I'm talking about. And I was just like, I ain't in the mood to watch this at the moment. So I've never actually rewatched it in its entirety. This is actually the director's cut. I think it's a little bit longer. I am very interested to see it again, because I did love the film. Florence Pugh, an incredible actress. She really sells it. So yeah, it's a highly recommended one, but not one you can sort of throw in and rewatch all the time, I think. Got here Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. This is actually probably one of my favourite Star Wars films. I've never talked about Star Wars on my channel, but I really need to revisit the original trilogy again. It's been some years since I've seen them, but in recent memory, Rogue One, fantastic Star Wars film. It just felt a little bit more grounded to me. I really invested myself in the characters. It felt like there was a lot more at stake given the story of what's going on, and that scene where Vader shows up at the end is insane. And yeah, this film's kind of stuck with me. I really enjoy this one. So probably one of my favourite Star Wars films for sure. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I believe this was the Oscar Best Picture winner, I think, in 2017. This would be one of my favourite Best Picture winners of the last decade. Incredible film. Very complex, interesting characters. Goes in ways you're not expecting. Quite emotional in parts. And yeah, just amazing performances. Really interesting story. And just, all-round fantastic film. Daniel Craig Bond collection. It's actually just the first 4 films. I actually got this as a present leading up to No Time to Die. Daniel Craig is my favourite James Bond, personally. I think they're the best films, and I think he's the most suited to the character. He just feels the most real to me, I guess. Casino Royale being my absolute favourite Bond film. I love that movie so much. Again, another one that I love to review at some point, but even his weakest, I know a lot of people don't like Quantum of Solace, but even that I still think is very good. So yeah, fantastic box set. Got here Poltergeist. This is an early Steven Spielberg horror film. Can't remember, I haven't seen this in absolutely years. I haven't seen it in maybe 15 years. I remembered enjoying it, but off the top of my head, I really can't remember a lot about it. So need to revisit this one. This is a fun film. Catherine Bigelow's film, Near Dark, is a vampire film. Just really entertaining, this one. It's quite dark in places. Bill Paxton is very memorable, like that whole scene in the bar. Everyone will talk about if you've seen this. That was really crazy. Yeah, just a really good time, this one. One of the better vampire films. The Abyss. This is an old James Cameron film. Actually, when I was watching Avatar last year when Way of Water came out, I was really wanting to watch over all the old James Cameron films I hadn't seen before, and I couldn't find this film online for the life of me. So I managed to track down a copy on eBay. I believe there is multiple endings to this, and people have a lot of opinions about both. So I'm not actually sure what version this is, but I am quite intrigued to check this one out. Don't Look Now. Haven't actually seen this. Don't know a lot about it. I know it's a classic horror film. It's Donald Sutherland. This is one my uncle gave to me. We watch a lot of movies together, and he recommends and passes me down a lot of stuff. And this was one that he got me as a present. So very interested to watch this at some point. Halloween Kills. The second David Gordon Green Halloween film in the trilogy. Was not a fan of this one. I've watched it a couple of times now, and it just really doesn't work for me. Really wouldn't have been the direction I would choose to go. The whole hospital scene in the middle, couldn't stand that. The townspeople coming together, a lot of the dialogue's really cringy. It feels like it was just focused as well on Michael Myers just taking out people. It just feels like quite a shallow movie to me, to be honest. Yeah, this is definitely the worst of the trilogy. I haven't revisited Ends yet, just because it's such a strange film, but I'm at least a little bit intrigued by that one, but this one's definitely a skip. Okay, so next we've got Batman Begins. I can see I've got the whole Dark Knight trilogy here. I'm not quite as religious about it as some people, but I do love the trilogy. Batman Begins is actually the weakest for me, though. I don't know why, to be honest, but because this one focuses on Batman's sort of origin story and it's only kind of following him, I just don't find it as interesting for some reason. I think it works better when actually the villains become the focal point of the movie. Batman in himself isn't that interesting to me. I do love Christian Bale, don't get me wrong, but the villain as well in this, Ra's al Ghul, Liam Neeson, didn't really do a lot for me. Don't get me wrong, it's still a good film, but just not quite as good as people say, I think. The Dark Knight, definitely the best of the trilogy. It's a brilliant film, there's no doubt about it. I think IMDb, though, has this as like the 6th best film of all time. Not quite sure about that, but you can't deny Heath Ledger as the Joker, absolutely incredible. So sad that he died when he did. He was just absolutely fantastic in this. Carries the movie. It's an interesting story. It's definitely one of the best superhero films. You don't need me to tell you about The Dark Knight. It's The Dark Knight, incredible film. And the final one, Dark Knight Rises. I actually like this one more than Batman Begins. I know most people think this is the worst. They have more problems with this. I think it's got, it has got some plot holes and some problems towards the end. Maybe gets a little bit ambitious, but in a weird way, that's kind of what I like about it as well. I like the scale of the film. It feels like I like the ambition of it, even though it does fall short in spots. I do like the ambition. Love Tom Hardy as Bane as well. So yeah, very good. Very good Nolan film. Oh, there goes the pile over. Oh, here we've got to it. We've got Get Out. I love this film. I absolutely love this one. Jordan Peele's first movie. Got me, again, it just set the bar too high, I think. I found both Us and Nope slightly mixed. Both still very interesting films, but Get Out to me just perfected it. Very, very weird, interesting story. I love the kind of twists and turns in it. Daniel Kaluuya is a great lead. Again, another one that I'd love to review sometime. I really love this. Dawn of the Dead from Zack Snyder, the Zack Snyder remake, I should say. This will be controversial, but this is actually my favourite Zack Snyder film. I love Dawn of the Dead. I went through a phase when I was younger where I just watched this on repeat. I love zombie movies in general. As you'll see as we go through my collection, loads of zombie movies and series and everything. I love it. And Zack Snyder's take on it just really works for me. Great characters in this one, amazing visuals. You know, he's got a very distinct style, Zack Snyder, and I actually think it worked great in a zombie film. So yeah, I do actually need to see Watchmen again before I say that for sure, because that's one I haven't seen in some time. But as of right now, Dawn of the Dead is his best in my opinion. Falling Down is a Joel Schumacher film with Michael Douglas. Again, if you're a Michael Douglas fan, I'm sure you will have seen this and love this one. About just a guy who one day snaps and takes on the world. And, you know, it's got a lot of really disturbing moments and funny moments, bit of everything in this film, but it's one that I've always really enjoyed. So next here we've got a Guillermo del Toro collection of films. Let's just see what's in this one. Okay, so you've got Cronos, Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth. I've actually only seen Pan's Labyrinth for this collection. I am quite a big Guillermo del Toro fan. I really should check out the other two here. Pan's Labyrinth is an amazing film. Again, it's very, very dark, not one you can just throw on at any moment, but when you get a chance, if you haven't seen it, it's highly recommended. It's about the Spanish Civil War with kind of a dark fantasy take on it as well. It's very much a Guillermo del Toro type film, but I loved what he did with that. But it's quite a heavy watch, you know, pick your right time to watch it. But yeah, so I need to check out the others here. Next, we've got High Fidelity. This is John Cusack and Jack Black. I remember quite enjoying this one, but I can't remember a lot about it, to be honest. I know it is quite a revered film. I haven't seen it in some years. Maybe I was kind of distracted at the time or doing something else whilst watching it, because I can't really remember much about it. Probably one I should rewatch. Gone Baby Gone. This is a Ben Affleck film. Really shows you what a talent Ben Affleck is, and with Casey Affleck in the lead role as well. Again, a very, very dark film, dark subject matter, but a really interesting, like, mystery crime thriller. Very good film. Another copy of Casino Royale here. Again, I bought them all in different times over the years. I've probably got multiple copies of the Bond films sitting around, as well as the box sets. This is a good film, Drive. This is, again, one of my favourites. This is a Nicholas Winding Refn film with Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling is one of my favourite actors, and this is a film I don't really know how to sell to you without just telling you to watch it. It's one that the brilliance of it is all in the style. It's very mesmerising. You get really kind of invested in this simple story, but the characters and the way it's done, it just takes you to another place. And it's a really incredible film. Again, I'm not probably selling it right now. I don't know how to best explain this one, but it's an incredible movie. It's quite an art house type movie, so again, it might not be for everyone. I know Nicholas Winding Refn is quite a unique director in that sense, but Drive is definitely his best one. Absolutely incredible. Got here Donnie Brasco. This is a gangster film with Al Pacino and Johnny Depp. I remember this one being pretty good. Again, haven't seen it in a while. Not as good as all the big hitters like Casino, Goodfellas, those type gangster movies, but I remember really enjoying this one. Quite cool to see Johnny Depp in a gangster film as well, but this one's good. Next one here is Filth. This is another movie that's difficult to describe. If you've ever seen Trainspotting, this is the closest thing that I can compare it to. I'm pretty sure they're both based on novels from the same writer. So again, if you've seen Trainspotting, you kind of know what you're getting into with this. It's got an amazing performance from James McAvoy. I'd never seen him in anything before this, and he is really incredible here. It's kind of like a comedy, but it's very, very dark. Again, dark subject matter. It's a dark story, but told in a very comedic way. It is a Scottish film as well, so if you're not from Britain or Scotland, you'll probably have a bit of a hard time understanding a lot of the humour and the dialogue in this one. Again, it's an acquired taste, won't be for everyone, but I actually really, really like this film. And next here we have Hot Fuzz. Edgar Wright film. I can't decide what my favourite Edgar Wright film is. I love them all so much, and Hot Fuzz, it's just so quotable. It's absolutely hilarious. I've grown up watching this film. I've watched this so many times. It's just fantastic. It's a shame The World's End didn't quite live up to Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, but Yeah, you don't need me to sell Hot Fuzz to you. It's a brilliant film. It's got a crazy plot as well, I think. And yeah, very, very enjoyable watch. So that's the end of this episode of my DVD collection. I'm going to probably update this maybe once a week, once every other week, something like that, because we've got a load more movies to go here. This is a massive collection and we've just got started in it. Please do let me know in the comments as well if these are any of the movies we've been through so far are ones you like, and hopefully I've given you a few good recommendations here as well for the ones that you haven't seen. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.